So just a couple of data points with respect to how insurers see the issue of risk and sustainable finance. And this does go back to concepts around the economic costs, the insured costs and economic costs of severe weather. 3 decades ago, the insured costs of severe weather tended to be about $400 million a year. Now that number is easily $1 billion a year. It certainly in the West, in Alberta in 2013, 2016, has been $3 to $5 billion. Last year, insured losses in Canada were well in excess of $1 billion, and that was without kind of a single driving event that tipped Canadians over the threshold. Like every country in the world, Canada too is seeing the economic costs of severe weather rise, and this is particularly true when we start thinking about issues around resilience and flood. Unlike every other G7 country, Canada does not yet have a national plan to deal with issues around flood and flood resilience. Although, was just mentioned, Ottawa did convene a national roundtable on flood mitigation last fall, and there's a second one coming up this spring. Insurers have, in fact, embarked on a discussion around a sustainable financial future and climate resilience, specifically as it pertains to flooding. And the question that we're working through with both governments and Canadians is how do we collectively protect Canadians, and can we do anything, in fact, to reverse the rising costs? Another way of asking that question might be, how do in fact do insurers contribute to a sustainable financial foundation for Canada? And likely the way to think about this is really to think about a sustainable financial future and risk management. You need to really think about it as a whole of society thing. That implies a real role for the insurance sector. It implies a real role for governments, and it actually implies a real role for Canadians generally. There are kind of roles and responsibilities here. Insurers have a real role to make sure that there's a robust suite of insurance products that are available, and that's starting to happen. Governments have a real responsibility to lead with good policy, to reduce systemic risk, and that can be demonstrated either through thoughtful risk-based land use planning. It can be investments in aging infrastructure. It can be something as simple as tighter building codes. And homeowners too have a real role to play. So if you get the right insurance products along with governments taking action, the next thing that we should be focused on in thinking about sustainable financial futures is the importance of educating Canadians on the risks that they face. And again, that's a world where both industry and governments can take responsibility. So just real quick to sum up, for insurers, supporting the transition to a more climate resilient economy means getting the incentives and disincentives lined up appropriately. I think on risk reduction, on risk financing, and on risk transfer. And to do that right, we actually do need the public sector and the private sector to come together to take account of this, bearing in mind what's happening on climate, and sadly, what one can accomplish within the political reality within which we live. So